Hey everyone, it's Mikhail. Today I will be analyzing a game between MiladLouak0 and Jann. Jann starts with an open game, e3, and then we have MiladLouak response with the Polish defense c5. And after bishop a6 and Milad capture with the knight, we have a classical Polish defense. Jann plays b4 and decides with the old Polish attack, which Milad responds to by taking the pawn with the c-pawn. And now, there are many variations to be played here. There's a lot of positions that you can be in, but Jann decides with the computer attack by playing d3. There are many ways that Black can respond here. The most popular one, nail attack defense by playing queen c7. And the response from White here would have been knight c3, offering the nail attack gambit on board. And once Black captured the knight, because if you capture with the pawn, then White can play bishop b7, and now he can just play queen here. And I mean, you could take this rook and have a queen race on board, or maybe even but that's not the line that was played here. I mean, I guess you can have a rook, and then after take I would probably take, but I think a queen would have been better. That way you can have multiple choices on which to take. Obviously, after you take the rook, you don't want to take the king, because then he can take your king, and once you take his rook, he can get your knight involved, and it would go like that. Which you can probably still win if you're a strong player. The main line for the italic gambit is that you take the knight, and then White is gonna play knight e2, in which case you take the king, and then White captures with the rook, and then you simply play b3, and White captures with the c-pawn, and it would go from there. But that's not what we see in the game. What we see in the game after the computer attack, we see rook b8 playing SupWitches Defence. Now, there are many variations White can play here, but the main line for SupWitches Defence is that White plays knight c3 and then sacrifice both his bishop and rook, and obviously he would get a queen. Sometimes White would simply decline the race, and he plays king e2, but usually what happens is that White tries to have Black take all his pieces, which doesn't really work in the SupWitches defense, and it goes like that. Now Black is trying to get rid of his queen, so obviously you want to try to find two squares that are overprotected. In this case, when you take on g2, you can sack your queen on e4 and g1 and h2 as well. So that is the most logical play here. And after this move, now SupWitches Defence, it goes by queen taken on e4. And now your main concern is you try to get rid of your other queen, and this is the only square that's being attacked and the rook is protecting it. So you're gonna try to do that. But white gives black a clear path and says, no, I don't wanna give away my knight. Find something else. Black takes advantage of that and sack his queen on g6, and obviously take with the f pawn, because if you take with your h pawn, then it's gonna be a very simple end game for whites. So what happens is that black takes with the f pawn, and then whites doesn't see it like you need to sacrifice your knight, but do not go back with it, because then there is a clear path for black's pawn to sack his d pawn and then get you to promote to something. But he plunders and he doesn't see it. I mean, this knight right here, it's what's blocking black from playing d5. So he shouldn't have done that. And the computer line here says knight g5. There is simply an intermediate move that black can play that will give him the game, and that would be d5. That way, let's say take on here first. That's okay. I'm simply gonna play knight b4, and when you take, I'm gonna take the a pawn, and that way you're gonna have to take again, and your rook is gonna have to take on the a file. Or even if you took here, that is fine. I'm simply gonna take here, and you're gonna take the e pawn. I'm gonna take your king, and you're gonna be forced to take my knight as well. Simply sacrifice my king and take with the rook, and now you're gonna be forced to play d6 and take my rook. I'm simply gonna play knight c3. You're gonna take my rook. I'm gonna play knight b5, and it doesn't really matter what you promote to here, you are going to lose. If you promote to a king, let's say, I'm simply gonna sacrifice my bishop, then knight, then do a waiting move, and run away with my g pawn, sacrifice my rook, and my pawn is faster than your king. I'm gonna simply promote to a rook, and I'm gonna win from here. So we're gonna go back. What else can you promote to? Let's say you're gonna promote to a knight. I'm simply gonna play bishop e6. You're gonna take my g pawn. I'm gonna play rook h8. You're gonna take my bishop. I'm gonna play knight c7. You're gonna take my knight, and simply just do a waiting move and force you to take my rook as well. So we will go back. Obviously a rook loses, because simply I'm gonna play bishop h3, and then you're gonna take my rook, and then I'm gonna put my knight over here, and you're gonna take this pawn, and I'm just gonna do waiting moves with my bishop until you clear my pawns, and then I'm gonna sack my my pawn on one of these files right here. So what is the last thing you can do? You can promote to a bishop, maybe, if that's what you're thinking. Obviously the same idea with the queen, but let's say finally you're gonna promote to a bishop. I'm simply gonna play bishop f5. You're gonna take my knight. I'll play bishop d3. You're gonna take my bishop. g6, rook e8, and then you take both of my pawns as well. But anyway, that's not how it went in the game. So even the computer line that was having the best move loses. What was played in the game is knight f2. Milad saw that opportunity and played d5 and then forced white to promote to something, and he decided to promote to a queen. Then Milad found the beautiful mating sequence by playing e5, and the idea here is to get his knight involved, then play g5 to have him capture, and then simply get his rook activated as well. But we see Milad went ahead and played e4, but white blunders anyway and took on g7 to get rid of the queen, um, neglecting the threat of having to capture the pawn on e4 with the knights. And the game went like this, and it was a great game. But I think like what other things black should have done, I think he would have played queen here, and Milad obviously shouldn't have gotten his rook activated, so maybe h5. And once he took here, um obviously if you played knight h6, I would take the knight, and then you would be forced to have double pawns on the h file. So maybe he should have played h4, and it is fine to get your bishop activated, and that way it would have been a nice end game to see from black and white. But white doesn't see it, and it would have been a nice end game from there, but black blunders and doesn't take the pawn on e4, and that's what lost him the game. But overall, good game. And white resigns here because obviously once you take the pawn, he's gonna sack his knight on d7. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up, drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe with notifications on. Take care and see you later.